Introducing Angelina Nordstrom, they, them, there. Angelina Nordstrom has been serving their community as the president of the Chicago LGBTQ Workers Center and an organizer of the Higher Trans Now initiative with the Chicago Therapy Collective. Angelina was awarded the 30 Under 30 Award by the Windy City Times in 2019 and the Esteem Award for Outstanding Transgender Person in 2020 for their work in the transgender community. They are best known as a powerful lyricist, poet, public speaker, and writer.
Long gone were the days of my written words, reeking of inks and teen spirit. During those crucial years, the anxiety and angst that culminated from my hostile home environment became the subject of my creativity. While it was the subject of my creativity, it was also the product of my upbringing. Pessimism, downtrodden, restless, hopeless, manipulated, harmed, neglected, bruised, and abused. Unfortunately, I carried these scars into adulthood in the form of unshed tears and boiling red blood. The endless cases of trial and error following my adolescence were only the beginning of my true growing pains. While I was pushed away by some of my relatives, while I had been conditioned to be seen and not heard. While I had firearms pulled on me by relatives. While I had been a survivor of domestic violence. I can say that the remaining 3% of my hope was holding on to the belief that I can experience emancipation within a change of scenery. Like many who say the same about their old stomping grounds, I was ready to bid Tennessee adieu. There was a close call for a breakthrough that occurred in 2010. When I saw my undiscovered self in the mirror, not as an assumed identity that was only established to meet the expectations of those whose love had been conditional, but as Angelina. Angelina has made her debut. While her debut was needed within a world of darkness, Angelina's longevity was going to be extremely short-lived for now, unfortunately due to the lack of universal wisdom. Angelina was only a figment of my imagination, but she was that figment of my imagination that gave me good reason to make the best of any bad situation. As the years went by in Tennessee, the opportunities of leveling up were far and few in between. The final straw for me was the stalemate that I experienced with both of my employers. After ending the complacency that I was forced into, I had Chicago on my mind over the years from my visits, wishing that those visits would be never ending. Once my employment ended, I was experiencing my second bout with homelessness. As quiet as it's kept, some relatives did not want to have me stay with them as I rehabilitated myself, while others provided such a dangerous space. Such a dangerous space that would make Inglewood seem like Andersonville with an edge, and South Shore seem like Lakeview as a roughneck. I was simmering on the advice of the amazing Judge Maybelline. Look deep before you leap. After some deep soul searching, I knew that a new day had come. As a cloudy day in September dawned upon me in 2013, I gathered as much of my property as I could and packed it all up. I had only one plan for that day, and it would take every bit of my being to make it happen, whether I'd make it all the way or not. I knew that I had no other choice. I had nothing else to lose. I was tired of playing it safe over the years by visiting and creating my long-awaited escape remotely. With nothing but clothing, my laptop, my phone, and my remaining ounce of sanity, I bid my hometown adieu, and I drove from Tennessee to Chicago. Once I arrived to the Windy City, I knew that it was official. I closed one chapter in my life and began a new chapter by manifesting my own destiny. At this point, I knew that I have always been in control of my own destiny. I officially took my leap of faith.
That was how I, made my story. That was how I got here. And that was only just the beginning of it all taking place. Um, One of the pieces that really chronicled a little bit of that lonely time of just starting all the way over in a new place and not really having that foundation really brought significance to the simplest of things. And I want to share that. I don't know if some of you were here last night, but normally I don't do 2 or 3 shows in a row. However, this is a very special occasion, and this is because we're all here and we're all willing to share our stories with everyone here. And we're all so happy to be able to show our growth to you all. However, I don't perform the same pieces. I never do. So the pieces I performed last night are not the pieces I'm performing tonight. So my first piece is called Forevermoreness. Happy is the phone call of concern and comfort when I'm in need of compassionate counsel and the sort. Nothing else matters when it comes to the well-being of the world. If I'm in your world, then you are my universe to the value of my only pearl. A snowflake with emotions and a story to tell, and braves the heat and maintain its beauty to sell. Will a rose withstands a bitter cold hell, but when I'm with you, nothing else can compel. If I can withstand below 30-degree weather, it must be because of your warm embrace. Your embrace, you embrace me with your compassion, your honesty, your ambition, your dedication, your beautiful face. As long as I have you inside me, I can never lose my warmth or lose my place. As your universe indicates that you are here to stay, that this is the real case. The seasons change without a time clock while the sun rises and sets with the breeze. As long as you withstand the variations of my life, I know that my love will never freeze. This experience transcends time by living on with this forevermoreness. And that was one piece that really stood out during that time frame. And that's because of how important communication really has always been. So that first portion of my story was called Leap of Faith. And believe it or not, since then, since I came here, there has been a major twist of fate that has taken place.
A new chapter had awaited me for a number of years, but remote preparation deferred the dream. Well, no more. I arrived in Chicago on a cloudy September day in 2013. I took the leap of fate against all odds. This was my new reality. In my mind, if I was going to be out on the street and not have a stable fortitude to call my own, if I was going to experience homelessness once again, if I was going to hit rock bottom, then I would want to do so on my own terms. I would want to do so within a new scenery that would provide my remaining shred of hope with a few necessary tools to rebuild myself. Little did I know that instead of me rebuilding who I believed to be myself, I was building a brand new person, a person who was lying dormant, a person who was crying out for air, a person who was crying out for freedom in a new capacity. Despite the opportunities for a new beginning, it did not come without some serious lessons that I would only learn in the real world. It took 2 years for me to learn the schema of Angelina's identity. The air of Angelina was so alluring that this enigma was showing signs of life within my expressions. I knew that I was within a very underrepresented community in the LGBT community. I was not gay. I was never bisexual. I was unaware of what queer was. I never knew that the trans identity existed. Despite the vast and ever-growing list of labels for people, places, and things that could stand on their own without subjective name-calling just to fulfill the want, need, and desire to have an answer to every single question about every single person within the experience of living in this world. At day's end, I was a sapiosexual who evolved to become a straight-up demisexual with a hunger for attention, of love language to which I was never introduced, but a need that has commonly gone unfulfilled for me. I was a two-spirit person without a space to share that experience. At day's end, I just want to be unapologetically me. The first intake of estrogen was the end of one existence and the beginning of another existence for me. The moment that followed was my official rebirth. Angelina was no longer a personality. Angelina was now real. And ever since then, Angelina has been real, even within the evolution, going from she, her to they, them. That was as subtle as as an adjustment for me, because I can present in many ways. The identity can be femme, the identity can be two-spirit, but they, them is so accurate of a reflection of me. My next piece is entitled Flashing Red Light. State of emergency declared. Apparent source of beams in between my eyes infrared. I stare into the eyes of death for lack of motivation and see the inevitable for giving slack in communication. I guess sometimes we have to look at ourselves for inspiration to avoid the inevitable sense of acceptance or desperation. We don't always turn out the way we want or our parents want, but we try. When we disappoint our loved ones, all we want to do is cry. The close of each chapter does not mean indefinite closure, but only the beginning of the most shocking exposure. I transition from innocence to experience as I refuse to lose my composure. When I see the maturation of my passion and love morph into hope going into foreclosure. Fret not, for I know that my tomorrow is uncertain, whether I will witness the sunrise or to see the close of the final curtain. For we only have today to be self-sufficient, whether as Christian, Jewish, or an important figure with a turban. No longer should we be dependent on others for human needs. Be your own burden. Inspire the world by creating your own happiness and illustrating what happy is. Never again should your dream be deferred or your burning desires fizz. Love yourself enough to set your spirit free into the uninhibited world as the music whiz. Create your universe from within, nurture your spiritual garden, and share your undiscovered bliss. Now, last night, I shared that I wanted to get back into music. I always loved it, and I used to do it a lot more. This was even before the story of my leap of faith took place. But because that talent was never nurtured beyond just junior high and high school, I just did it very sparingly. So tonight, I actually would like to do one last piece, and hopefully you all enjoy it. Um, so
Rain is what the thunder brings for the first time. I can hear my heart sing. Call me a fool, but I know I'm not. I'm gonna stand out here on the mountain top till I feel your rain. I feel it. It's coming. It's coming. I feel it. It's coming.
thank you.